Welcome everyone to our series on unconventional wisdom for a joyful life. We call our event Wish I Was Here because we want you to live a fully engaged life. And to live a fully engaged life, it needs to be a joyful one. You need to be really joyful about everything that you do and that your life has meaning. Every day, you need to be energized by living your purpose. And we've been discussing these principles of unconventional wisdom specifically for a joyful life. And today we're on principle number 17, and we're going to talk about faith is more powerful than proof. So let me repeat, faith is more powerful than proof. And we're going to discuss whether this is true or not. So just um, the basic understanding of where we come from, and some notes to just titillate your interest. So, as far as faith being more powerful than proof is concerned, where science stops, faith continues. In other words, everything that you can see in the third dimension, um, height, width, depth, right? Shows you, proves to you that something exists. It's tangible. You can taste it, touch it, smell it, feel it. But there are certain things in the fourth dimension. It's what the speed of light brings, is a fourth dimension, believe it or not. So, uh, even though it is wonderful to be able to figure out what the meaning of one's life events is, it's even more empowering not to know. Isn't that interesting? Is because having to know exactly what the meaning of one's life is, and you ask the question, what is the purpose of my life? It really comes back to know, for you to want to know is really about your own ego, generally speaking. And so today we're going to say, well, since knowing is forms a part of wisdom, trusting God, though, is power. And one of the quotes that I normally start off with is around A Course in Miracles gives this quote or asks this question: do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Now, it's an interesting thing, that question, because you would surmise, or that you would expect, that if you're right all the time, you'll be happy all the time. Another way to ask that question, as far as relationships are concerned, is do you want to be right or do you want to be reconciled? It's all up to you, of course. What exactly happiness is to you, I do not know. But are you able to answer this question? Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Is this really mutually exclusive or not? So, what is faith really about? Because remember, the principle is that faith is more powerful than proof, more powerful than evidence. So, here's my definition for you, taken from a variety of sources. Now, faith is giving substance, and that substance means making it tangible to a positive expectation of the future and celebrating it as if it has already happened. Faith is really believing and then seeing, and not the other way around, that says seeing is believing. No, when you believe, then you will see. And faith is a state of mind and can be created. All right? So, just what do you think about all these different things I'm saying now, and I'm sharing around faith? So, if that is faith, well, how do you know you have no faith? Well, at least three things. You have no faith when you have fear, when you're worried about something, when you have that negative expectation of the future, when you have doubt, right? And when you have unbelief. These are some of the giants that are in existence when you have no faith, right? So the opposite of faith is no faith. And when you have no faith, you know you're having fear, there's doubt, and there's unbelief. If we want to really apply this, right? So let's talk about the application as far as money is concerned. It's amazing whether we even want to entertain this, because you either have money or you don't. All right. And I looked at Napoleon Hill's quote in his book Think and Grow Rich. He says, "Directed faith makes every thought crackle with power. You can rise to limitless heights, impelled by the lifting force of your might and new self confidence." So, obviously, Think and Grow Rich talks about um, having riches, of course, talking about financial, in a financial context. So, if you want financial independence, how does faith really apply? Well, uh, what happens where if you want to be financially independent, but you find that your situation is such that your finances are becoming stagnant, or they're actually declining, or you just don't have any longer. So what happens in this case? Well, faith in God and ultimately in ourselves as one with God can move the mountain of doubt and reveal the riches beneath. So I just want to come back to that a quote around what I believe faith is faith is giving substance, and substance meaning making it tangible, to a positive expectation of the future and celebrating it as if it already happened. And so that faith displaces fear, doubt, and unbelief. And so, how does one actually move from a place of fear to faith? Because you have to tackle doubt, lots of times self doubt, sometimes doubt in the relationships that you have as far as friends and family, associates, partners are concerned. And but how do you move from this place of fear to a place of faith? Well, here's some questions that one needs to consider. These are some standard ones, and then I'll give you some alternatives. Um, what builds faith? Interestingly enough, is if you want to know where you want to go to from where you find yourself. Now, in terms of financial independence, you gotta define what it is you want. What is that number? Not you say, I want more money. Well, how much more money do you want exactly? And I think sometimes we're a bit afraid to say we just need something so that we can feel better. But no. Put the number down, commit, nail your colors to the mast. How much money do you want in terms of financial independence? Um, when you analyze where you're at as far as your financial circumstances are concerned, you ask yourself another question is, what could you learn from your current experience? There's something to be learned, not just something that fans the flames of your fear, doubt, and unbelief. Is what can you learn from this experience? Right? It changes your mindset because you're looking for something to learn and therefore to apply. It is also, this is a reframing question, is how else could I look at my situation? My bank account is empty. How else could I look at this bank account and what causes an empty bank account, right? Um, but here's a nice question that builds faith is what do you imagine could possibly be waiting for you? All right, and that's linked to really that question of the where. Where do you want to go from where you find yourself? Very important. So these are just some of the questions that when you ask it, rather than just giving into the paralysis of fear, anxiety, the worry of what tomorrow will hold, start confessing what it is you want. And however, if you can't ask those questions, here's a further three questions, all right, that you can cast your mind back on, still in the context of financial independence, is can you remember a time when you did have some money in the bank, where you didn't go to bed worried about um, the status and the state of your finances? Or you're not worried about if you're in business in an organization, you're worried about cash flow because you need to service a payroll, you need to pay suppliers, or whatever the case might be. Is can you remember a time when you did have some money? And what was that experience like? And how did that experience work out for you? Um, and then, on that basis, you still ask yourself, oh, why did it work out well? What did you do? What is there specifically about you that made it work, right? So you're starting to look for all the positive forces, the positive elements, the boosters in your life. And lastly, is how can you use that particular strength or resource or gift to achieve that current goal that you've set for yourself in terms of financial independence? So we're just using financial independence. Obviously, broadening all of this out is um, many different examples. I'm sure that I'm gonna ask you just to share. But number one is I just want to know from both of you that are listening today and that are speakers, is just to tell me whether or not you agree with this assertion and this principle that faith is more powerful than proof, and tell me why.
Um, to be honest, like I told you before, it's that statement, faith is more powerful than proof. I have experienced it before, and that's why I think I continually have faith. But the doubt and the fear and the unbelief is still so strong that I can't actually, I don't know how to explain this, that my faith seems to, disappear constantly. And um, I don't know how else to actually explain the way I feel. I think it's probably through the last few years that because things went wrong so often that even though I had faith that things will go well, um, it just used to go. It just got worse instead of better, and I think that uh, rankled my faith a little bit. So at the moment, I'm still struggling with that, with this faith that must be stronger and more powerful than proof. So, yes, I actually want proof that my faith is powerful. And I can't seem to find the proof as yet, whether
Hmm.
it's financially or with my job situation, or even with relationships, I think. Um, so I am struggling right now.
Yeah, thank you, Renee. I mean, This is basically it. Um, when when you have those, and I call them giants for want of a better term, uh, when you have the giants of no faith, fear, doubt, and unbelief, you know, you have no positive expectation of the future, and that is the issue. And what you do have is proof, in your example, that negative things are going to happen again and again because that's your experience, and it builds on that. And to switch it all on, and the reframe is that, well, in order for you to see, you got to believe. The proof is to be able to see it in your mind, and then to believe it and not doubt that it can happen. Can it happen overnight? Is not how fast it can happen is not the issue. The issue is, can you actually believe, despite circumstances, despite history, is being able to and if we use the driving analogy, to look forward, meaning looking through your windscreen rather than looking into the rearview mirror, fearing what you've just passed already. It's history, it's past. Um, and not projecting that into the future, because that's also something that we do, is that in a tool that we use, we call those things, and I think I've addressed it before in some one of our talks, but the making the assumption that just because something went wrong in a certain way in the past, and especially if it's confirmed that it happened. Now we have a three-strike rule as people. I don't know how universal that is, but I think in communities where I grew up is like, okay, three times you out, you struck out. That just confirms everything, and therefore, that self-fulfilling prophecy then kicks in. It says, well, in that particular situation, in a way that happened, even in the area of finance, in whatever area it is, you project that into the future. You expect it to happen, and so the law of attraction now kicks in because you are expecting it to happen. And more often than not, where you are looking, if you're looking at barriers, or if you're looking at these negative events to happen, more often than not, we make the kinds of decisions that just confirm that we were absolutely right, because then we experience those events. We start to look for those things. So when you seek something that is negative, I think you always find it. And therefore, seeking the positive, having a positive expectation, right? But faith is real confidence that it's already happened. Not the fact that it's still going to happen. It's already happened. And every day, rather than seeing what your eyes are telling you, you're looking through your so rather than looking through your physical eyes, you're looking through your faith eyes, which means you see it, you taste it, and you touch it, basically, on that principle. So therefore, really thinking about it, being able to see something that has not happened yet, believing something that hasn't happened yet. Therefore, the principle stipulates that therefore it's more powerful than something that you can absolutely see. If you can see something in the present, you don't actually need your faith eyes to see it, because your physical eyes can clearly see it. You don't need faith. Absolutely not. Faith is really about something that is not visible now, but you act as if it's already happened in that way, and it drives how you feel about life, and you can be joyful, right? So yeah is the thing is, remember, just a reminder of some of the things we touched on, is that when we want proof, it is the ego that needs that proof in order for it to believe. But the true power comes from trusting God, right? His word, his promises. For some who was listening who say, yeah, but we're not religious. Well, is there a higher power that you believe in? Some have all kinds of um, spiritual beings that they follow, but it's something beyond. It's actually something that is supernatural. In our case, it is definitely. If God said it, it must be it. It must be so. All right. So why second guess it? So start living your life as if it is already happened, whether it is in situations, uh, whether it's your personal life in relationship, whether it's in our example with financial independence. Um, but if you're dealing with an annoying person, all right. So how do we use that example? An annoying person, and I said to you, well, faith is more powerful than proof, meaning you're gonna start believing, seeing this person in a completely different light. You're gonna see them as the opposite to how they're behaving right now. You're going to see them behaving in a way that's constructive and engaging. You're going to see a completely different person. And then you start treating them as if they are without waiting for them to change before you engage with them. I mean, that's what faith is. I mean, what does it mean when you say, I have faith in you, right? It's a little bit more powerful than just, I believe in your ability to do so. Faith says, I already see that you can do it. All right. So, Shanaz, what do you think?
Hi, I'm Jacques. I agree with you. So what I in terms of faith and believing and the proof. In the past, so what I actually do is when I get fearful and doubtful, I look at my past and I see kind of the times that whether God has kind of brought me through, or whether circumstances, and I've kind of put that belief and faith into practice. So what I would do when I sometimes have struggled financially in the past, I'd come up with a list of 50 ways I can make money, or like I play this game with myself on how creative I can be. And time and time again, I always come up with because I really do believe that I can be resourceful. And so I like come up, and some of those ways like actually work. And um whether that's sort of through counseling, whether that's through training I've done, and I will like make an inventory of my skills and abilities and focus on, okay, so maybe I haven't tried that before. And it's just been amazing, the response. But kind of it didn't happen overnight, I have to tell you. It took a while. And obviously I have a business interest as well, and really that's kind of helped me as well, in terms of viewing myself in all different angles. And then, as I said, that I am a creative and a resourceful person. And that somehow that will kick in. And because I do believe, I think, in fact, there's a scripture somewhere in Deuteronomy or Numbers that it says that God gives us the ability to create wealth. So I kind of, and I read this other thing by a guy that says that we won't struggle if we are problem solvers. And so I try to think of, what problem am I meant to solve? And that's kind of helped me. And so I believe that I can be a problem solver. But it
Mhm.
isn't easy. I struggle as well. There are those days that I forget. And then but because it's become a regular practice of mine to kind of become more confident in my ability and my faith as well, I'm finding it easier as I'm growing older. So that's my that's my well. But I really do believe it is in the faith that I start responding already as if I have that client, or I'm going to do that training, or I've got that research funding already. So yeah, that idea of faith without works is dead. So I try and put that in practice.
Oh, fantastic. So, um, coming back to, I mean, just some of the thing that you said there, which is amazing. I know it's just a number, but you said that in the area of finances, and maybe you're a little short on finances, you then write down a list of 50 ways you can generate that kind of income, your target income. And I was just wondering, Shanaz, to how do you get yourself to actually sit and generate that list? What is that trigger for you?
Um, I think what happens is I what I think it's some training I've sort of been um actually, you know what? It's God. To just get to it. I just try to think. It's my circumstances. So what I find about, they say money has this element, spiritual, powerful element to it, and I find that for me, I have, whether higher power and everything, that money can take us away from God or it can bring us to God, and I would
Mm,
like to have that idea that it brings me. And I know it sometimes does take me away because I get caught up in a lot of things, and sometimes anxiety and concern. But that anxiety and concern drives me back to looking at creative ways to resolve a current financial crisis, whether that's helping family out, or because our lives are so connected with others,
mhm,
that it does eventually involve that. And I also find support. I find people in my life that I can share that with. Obviously, not there aren't many, but someone, people I can trust in my life, and I think that support and knowing kind of that, with God, with the support, that my support system, that I'm gonna find it as soon. I'm gonna find it soon. When it comes, it will come.
mhm.
And yeah, so that's what kind of drives me, I think, to that point where I start making that list. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Yes. So basically, if you have, and it is always the expectation that you have that about the future. We many there's so many different examples that we can use. I mean, one thing is like confronting somebody. Now we don't want to confront them because we fear the outcome. But if we have faith that the outcome will be good, and rather than confronting, we addressing someone, we addressing a concern with somebody, and expecting that positive outcome. So just maybe in summary, I think homework for all of us, and I don't know if you have this for both of you, but I just want to say that this reminds me of the power of having a vision board. Pretty simply having something, a board where you have cutouts of all kinds of pictures of what you see for your life, so it's visual. You can see it, you can taste it, and just the whole way that you address the fear, the doubt, the unbelief is to make a declaration. I was talking about nailing colors to your master. Maybe I say put the pictures down. Go and cut out all the pictures that you associate with the future that you can already taste, see, feel, hear, and put that on a piece of cardboard and say, "This is what I'm going to achieve in my life." And pretty much is a state of mind. Faith definitely is a state of mind. If you slip into the unconscious or subconscious practice of doing things, um, your faith is going to slip. So it's an act of will. You got to be so aware that in your moment, in any particular moment, there's an outcome that you're expecting, rather than shrinking away from it as you lean into it because you want it so much. So I just want to encourage yourselves, myself, is to go and dust off if there was some vision statement, or you actually had a vision board, right, where you put the pictures there, circled, whatever, is to go and do that again as a reminder of what you want for your life, how God inspired your life is in all aspects of the things that are important to you. So, thank you for listening. Thank you for participating and having this conversation with me today. I think it's practical enough as to decide that rather than to to live by sight is to walk by faith. So thank you, everyone. Renee, you wanted to say something in conclusion?
No, I'm good, thanks. It was just real good conversation today.
All right. Goodbye, Renee. Bye bye, Shanaz. Until
Bye.
next.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.